Step number 4 is to correct any hypoglycemia issues. We understand that insulin is a very pro-anabolic hormone, and so a lot of people will say, oh, you need to eat more carbohydrates so that you can build more muscle. And it makes sense because those carbs are lifting insulin, and that higher insulin is pushing a person more into that anabolic rebuild and repair state. The problem is a lot of people have their insulin working too efficiently. So we hear all the time about insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes and your body isn't listening to insulin. We understand that problem, but we need to understand that anytime an imbalance can happen in one direction, that it can happen in the other direction as well. So a lot of people have their insulin almost working like a bully. So when they eat carbohydrates, this really small amount of insulin sweeps way too much blood sugar out of the bloodstream too quickly. So even though they're eating the carbohydrates, they're not really raising insulin and pushing their body into that more anabolic rebuild and repair state. Step number 5 is to cycle the right carbs the right way. You really want to eat real food. This stuff called real food, it grows out of the ground, or it grows from a tree, or it comes from an animal, and you want to include more carbohydrates to help lift that insulin level, but you want to do it in a way that you're not going to push yourself insulin resistant. We like to see people cycle carbs. So maybe you're eating some real food carbohydrates like sweet potatoes or yams, or maybe even some potatoes or some rice that's really high in carbohydrates, but you don't want to eat those foods all day long. Maybe breakfast doesn't include any carbohydrates, so that gives you all night and then through breakfast to allow insulin to come down so that it's not screaming at the cells all day. Insulin takes a lot longer to come down than our blood sugar, so if we're eating carbohydrates throughout the day, we continue to spike insulin, and as long as insulin is really high, it's screaming at the cells to process all this glucose, and eventually the cells are like, yeah, I don't want to listen to that anymore. And now the person's going to become insulin resistant. Bonus step is to fix any symptoms that are going on at all with your health. Whether you're dealing with things like, oh, I got insomnia or depression or anxiety, or I have really bad menstrual cramps, or maybe I have a lot of sports injuries where I keep getting these injuries all the time. All of these are signs that the body is not operating the way that it's supposed to operate. And when that's the case, resources can be going from where they need to be dealing with some of these things that the body is viewing as an emergency. So when you want to add a lot more muscle, you really want the body to be able to operate optimally. Muscle is expensive. It takes a lot of energy to maintain that muscle. So we want to take any symptoms that we're dealing with and learn how to correct them. So you can go to our videos page, and in that search box in the top right corner, just put in whatever kind of symptoms that you're dealing with to see if you can learn about the underlying causes for those issues and steps that you might be able to take to correct those problems and help the body function a little bit better.